Right, hi guys, anyway, back with a quick update. After I finished fitting this to the blaster, the first scope, I actually dropped the blaster and shattered this something chronic, both sides, splits down both sides, because I printed this horizontally on the bed, so that's the bed there, printed that way. Took a lot less time than printing it vertically, but weak points. And printing it vertically, I got a lot better result. This is, I used remnants, so it's PLA tough, little black line there, PLA tough. I found about 60 centimeters of it. PLA tough and PLA matte. It all stuck together. Also, the center chunk here, where this bit that fits into the blaster is, that is all 100%. The reason I did that is because I've worked out a screw here fixing that goes straight up, and this, whereas the old one sort of slopped around a bit, the new one doesn't. It's actually pretty tight in there, so I'm pretty happy with that. And you know, everything's going to be painted, so it's not going to be an issue. Okay, catch you back soon. Hey guys, anyway, back with finally some work on the Malstrom. Oh, it's taken a while. I've just got so much on my plate. Okay, as you can see, you may have seen my short where I printed this vertically. I used remnants of whatever I had, even the tiny little bit of black just there, which is cool. So I'll just put the screw in. Problem is, the screw sticks through, so got to cut that off. Not a great issue. I've already marked it with a black marker. I'll get that out. And then I just got to put on these flaps here, sand a bit of this putty, and I can actually put some of this auto filler on this thing and start getting on with the paint, because it's just been taking so long. Fortunately, the guy who won this, Matt, he's very patient. I've met him a couple of times now. It turns out he's works locally, so I've gone to his shop and had a chat to him about certain things. But yeah, we're getting there. I've filled this with Tamini putty. These holes have got to be done again, and I've got to sand that and all that sort of thing, but we're getting there. So one thing at a time. I'll do this, back with you in a minute. Right, hi guys, back again. Okay, done the screw holes, usual thing, melted a hole in, put the screw in, it goes in there, cool, done, ready to go. Now I just noticed that this front joint, the putty over time had got sucked in, basically, it shrinks, so I've had to redo it. So more sanding for me, which you know how much I love, and another delay for Matt. But okay, we're getting there. So we've got that much done. Let me just zoom out. I've got very few things to add to this, and one of these is these things, these little, whatever they are. I have no idea. Can't even remember which way they go up. I'm not sure if it's that way or that way. I'll have to look at one of the images. If it's that way, I've got to fill the surface, because that's terrible. That's bad. But anyway, so going to put them in, and what I'm going to do, I'll keep, as I use them, pot rivet stems, because they're a little bar of metal, which is useful, and I'll melt a hole through there, put a bar in, also glue it in place, but I prefer to have that actual physical connection. So I'll get on with them. Right, so there we go. There's my little pot rivet. I've just taken off the cap and melted a hole all the way through, and by leaving a little beam on the top pin on there, I'll just mark it here and cut it off. Get a marking pen that works first. These workshop pens are great. Leave the cap off for hours and I won't dry out. So I can just see the little mark where most of it's rubbed off, so that's a pretty tight fit. Yeah, most of it's on the plastic there. So I just cut that off. By that noise you can hear in the background is my belt sand. I've just taken the burr off that, so it should go through a bit easier now. Yeah, there we go. So, and it doesn't stick out the other side. Great, but it does go through, and I can always check it. Right, hi guys, anyway, back again. Getting on with this Malstrom. I've been sidetracked with other things, but I've also been sanding this thing, especially this groove on and off for about a week just to get it smooth. Now it's not totally there, but what I'm going to do, what I've done over here is sprayed the buttstock with this Super Jeep Auto primer filler. I'm going to spray all the rest of the bits, and then, you know, once it's dry it'll be sanding again. This plastic that fit in here was a reasonable tight fit. Now it's a very tight fit, so it definitely fills. So I'm going to do that, and then have to go over everything lightly sanding and wet and drying, and hopefully we can then get to the painting. Right, hi guys, Andy Work here. Now apologies for the handheld, but necessary at this stage. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm putting this bracket on that holds the hose in, and originally I was going to use this, a piece of old roofing joist, but it's just not going to work. It's just too difficult to work the metal for a start because it's steel, and it is the wrong shape. So what I've done, I've bit the bullet. I've gone into my plotting program, the machine, this thing up here, cuts vinyl and stuff, and I've made the shape with the intention of printing it out, which I did, which is right here. Hopefully you can see it. Anyway, I'll pull it off. So anyway, I'm going to pull this off. This is sticky back. I'm going to stick it to this little bit of aluminium and then cut it out, or trace it in, mark it, then cut it out. That way I'll have the actual proper shape and something reasonably stiff and strong that can be screwed onto the side of this. Now, screwing onto the side of this is going to be a problem because the screw holes are down low and this stuff is not terribly thick. So I might have to modify this some way or move the screw holes up or something. Okie dokie, there we go. Stuck on. I'll put it as close to the straight edge as I can, so I've got less work to do, clean up, but I've given myself an extra inch or so for these bits that roll over the top that actually grab onto the hose. Let's see if I can get you off. Yeah, just there. So you can see the metal is attached there, bends up this way, comes over, wraps around, even looks like it wraps right around and comes back under, and we have what appears to be a bit of Velcro here. Right, so there's my masking film. I've stuck it on the blue, and what I've done, I've traced it around with a black texture. So if I pull that off, I get a nice sharp line, and I know how I have to cut on the inside of that line. And I've just discovered, I just did a quick test, my little coping saw will cut through this aluminium, so it's not going to be as hard as I thought it would be. So I'll get that done, and what I intend to do first is drill this section out, drill the 4 holes and cut that center section out, because then cutting this out will be a bit easier. Right guys, here we are back at the table. There is the basic shape cut out, and what I've got is my Dremel with just a grinding stone on it. I'm just going to push it into those corners and use the curve of that to make my curves. Hopefully, let's see how we go. So as I hope you could have seen, which probably you didn't, but the Dremel's made short work of that because it just runs so fast, it's so abrasive. You may have noticed on the belt sander, to get the rounded corners, I simply touched it once, and you know, soft metal and rapidly spinning abrasive plates, they do that. So as you can see, I'm getting there. So I'm just going to turn off the camera and finish this off. Bit of stuff muck to clean up, but yeah, it's going to work fine. Back soon. Right, now I've got this all shaped and smoothed around the edges, but bending this along this thick, this stuff bends easy. Bending it along this bottom edge is going to be a bit more difficult, because if you ever tried to bend metal, even aluminium, if you put it in a vise and just bend it, you don't get like a nice sharp bend. The metal tends to fight the vise and curve. But I've discovered what people 2,000 years ago discovered: if you heat up metal, it bends really easy. I've got my fingers on the top here just to feel when the heat gets up there. Now, I'm not going to hit this with a hammer, because that would be way too much force. This is getting really soft, I can feel it. I'm going to bend it with a bolt. And I'll show you how in a second. And you get nice and hot. The thing is, the aluminium isn't even discolouring yet, or glowing, so I don't know what's going to happen, but here we go. So what I'm going to do is use the bolt just there and just push. There we go. And you know what I've done? I've bent it the wrong way! Right guys, okay, so there's our bracket. Pretty well bent, pretty well shaped, and I have just went into the image on the computer and compared it to where it's actually supposed to sit, so it's pretty good. A little bit small, but I'm not going to worry about that. Now the only thing I really have to worry about is the screw holes here, which will go through into that they don't impinge in the bolt. So I'm going to use probably 4mm Nerf screws, and I can just get the Dremel in there if I need to, like so, and grind them down. Or even from the other side, probably. Yeah, I can reach from the other side. So, good. So I'm going to mark these holes and drill them, and then I'm going to curl this. Now, also holding that on that mark line, at the visual mark, I've put 2 lines here. That one's no good. This one's fine. So this is where they start to curl over. Now, to make sure I don't curl it over too much, but I've still got plenty of metal, it's pretty easy. All I'm going to do is put, this pipe is the same as this rubber hose that I'm going to be using, same diameter. So I'm going to roll this once and then mark it. Okay, so what I've done, marked where the holes are, marked where the bend has to start, and then transferred that onto the inside. So, just going to put the bolt there, put this up on a surface so the bolt head doesn't have any effect on this, and mark the bolt and do 1 revolution. So that's roughly, that'll go all the way around. What I'm going to do is use these fingers, whatever you want to call them, projections, to help me curl it over. So what I'm going to do is try and curl this up around this bolt. Won't that be fun? Okay, there is our grip. So the hose will come in through there, perfect fit, and then I can just, I'll snip this down, and then I can just pinch those in with a pair of pliers to get it to lock where I want to. So what I'm going to do is just cut these 2 fingers off now and make sure I can make it work and grip where I want it to grip. Probably bend it around, put the bolt back through there and bend it around with pliers. Alright, so what I'm doing here, guys, I'm mixing up some of this epoxy putty, teeny tiny bit, got my holes, what I'm going to do is just roll a tube, a very thin tube, and try and get it in the hole, which just happened, which is good. Now I need a knife or something to... Now this may seem a little bit like overkill, but it's basically just to give the hole some strength. The screw might bite into it, well it will bite into it and it'll dry around it, it'll help hold the bracket in place. But what I really want is for the plastic around the screw to be reasonably well strengthened somehow, and this is the only way I can think how. I can't even remember what do you call it, fill amount I put in this body. I think it was about 30%, I'm not sure, but as long as that's a bit more support, I'm happy. So let me just find that'll do, something flat and sharp. There we go, just smooth that off. Right, now on top of that I'm going to mix up some 5-minute aldite and put it directly on there. You can see I've sanded away the paint, simply because I want the strength. As you probably know, I'm not a big fan of glue. I prefer mechanical bonding, but in this case I'll settle for all of it. We'll have glue, we'll have screws, and we'll have the epoxy putty in there, just strengthening the inside of it. So as you can see, I've already got the screws ready to go. So don't want to put too much on it, I want glue going everywhere. And just a little bit on the back of the metal. There we go. And where's my screwdriver? Right guys, apologies for the handheld, but that's all I've got at the moment. So, I can't believe it, I've actually got this thing finished and ready for paint. So what I've done, I made the metal bracket. This tube I bought doesn't bend very well, so what I've done, I've 3D printed the connectors, and they're multicolored because I just used leftover filament. So one there, and one down on the front. So what I've got to do is take all this off. Oh, I've also done the trick of poking a hole in the pipe and then just drilling a screw into the bottom, into the body, and just levering the pipe over it so it holds it into place. I did that all along the way first, hence all the black marks, but it didn't really work very well, so that's why I put these two corners in. So I may even put one just in there just to hold that down. But that's it. So I can pull this thing apart. I'm going to put some putty on these just to smooth them out a bit, and get started on the painting.